is recording, and I'm the only participant. So how do I let you in? I think you can get in yourself because I didn't put any restrictions. Oh, Jesus. Well, that's the very link I sent you, but let me try again. Okay. Oh, there we go. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. Nope. Oh, there you go. Hot dog. Oh my goodness. Oh, praise the creator. Let me hang up the phone.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Let's hang up. Oh my.
There we go. We got it. It took a minute. Here we go.
Let me put my crown on. Good morning. Aloha kakayaka. Sonia.
Aloha. Thanks for your patience.
Let me put up the volume. I can't hear you. Let me see what's going on here. Can you
hear
me? Oh,
yeah,
great.
I can hear you.
Great.
Sorry,
Wonderful.
It's outside a little breezy, but.
So is that the Washington skyline there I'm looking at?
No, I'm actually out. I'm in Illinois for the week, but since we're not in session.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you and the congressman for taking the time to meet with us. Like, I'm thinking now that because I'm so challenged, I may not have. Oh, I see. Yes, we have another representative here, Cannabis for the Culture. K for K is present. Rachel Sila, can you acknowledge that we are hearing you and you're present here? This is Sonia Norton from the Congressman Kahele's office.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yes. I'm just trying to fix my settings. I apologize. I'm here though. Hi, nice to meet you.
Well, I'm so grateful you made it, because as I was telling Ms. Norton that I was really having some technical challenges, and thank you for her patience, because she managed to help me get back on track to get to this call. So perhaps I'll let Rachel Sila introduce herself, and then I could introduce myself as well. Because Rachel Sila is a primary supporter of our community here in Hawaii, but she's located on the mainland. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Rachel.
I'm so sorry. I just want to fix my settings so that I.
Okay, so and in that respect, then I'll introduce myself and then we'll get you back on again, okay? So Ms. Norton, be patient with me again. So this is, again, the call is being recorded. Okay. And Rachel, you ready now?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, so please introduce yourself then.
Okay. Shalom and greetings, everyone. My name is Rachel Sela. I am the co-founder of Cannabis for the Culture. And Cannabis for the Culture is basically a ancillary cannabis business that focuses on consumer education, accessible consumer education for BIPOC people, to open the door for a conversation to decriminalize and destigmatize and and make cannabis as regular as a glass of wine. And we are currently based in Richmond, Virginia, and well, rather our base is in Virginia, and we have 2 places where we're based, and that's in the Newport News area and in Richmond. We're looking to expand up to the DC area as well. And we also partner with Balm of Gilead in Hawaii. And Balm of Gilead is our sister company, and Empress is also one of the co-founders of Cannabis for the Culture as well. So I think I introduced myself. I'm here. I'm happy to answer any questions. We're a fairly new company, but we saw a need within our community and we just want to fill that need.
Thank you, Rachel. That was a great intro. And I really love that. And Sonia, let me give you a little brief introduction of myself. I was born in Haiti and I've been living in Hawaii since 1983, graduated from Hilo in 1988. I'm a mother of 12 children, 6 biological, 6 adopted, left Hawaii in 1988, retired educator for the New York City school system, almost 20 years. I've owned and managed a family business and NGO in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from 2008 to 2016 when I returned to the US. I worked on the mainland for about 2 years and returned to Hawaii in 2018 to my family. I have family who's been here. Why are we reaching out to your office today? We're contacting the Honorable Congressman's office to get support in changing policies that cause harm to our communities as Rastafari and people of African descent living in Hawaii and on the globe for that matter. As one of the many constituents in Puna, I would like an opportunity for our community and I to discuss the following concerns. Now, no disrespect to you, I have to read my outline for you, please. This is no disrespect to you. This is just for clarity's sake, okay?
Absolutely, and it's helpful to make sure we're all on the same page, so I appreciate it.
And I appreciate love you too, Sonia. And I may call you Sonia, right?
Absolutely,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so we're contacting the Honorable Congressman's office to get support in changing policies that cause harm to our communities as Rastafari and people of African descent living in Hawaii, as I said before. As one of many constituents, these are the concerns that we'd like to talk about. We'd like to talk about federal and local prohibition of cannabis. I'm aware that the Congressman is a co-sponsor of the MORE Act of 2021, as well as the Safe Banking Act of 2021. But on the local level, we want to know how can we get our congressional and legislative body to move towards speedy and equitable reforms. You see, these laws that were made regarding our sacred plants, that made our sacred plant an illegal substance, they impact on BIPOC communities from the days of Green Harvest in the 80s to today's emergence of a legal cannabis industry across the nation, including Hawaii. Our communities in the United States and here in the Kingdom of Hawaii have been and continue to be criminalized, disenfranchised, and marginalized. There's a need for a more comprehensive approach to restorative justice. We need the Congressman's support and social initiatives that address the immediate needs of those criminalized and marginalized communities that we are a part of. The current bills before Hawaii's Senate and the House regarding medical cannabis, namely SB number 1332 and SB number 704, as well as House Bill 2260, HB 7, HB 477, HB 668. I'm sure the Congressman is familiar with them, but if he reads through them again, you will agree that these bills and these laws only protect the interests of those privileged enough to obtain licensing. The language in these bills barely address equity, diversity, inclusion, and reparatory justice. In fact, many of these bills reinforce the current laws that criminalize us for our use of this plant. Our fundamental constitutional and human rights to freedom of conscience, religion, spirituality, and other rights afforded by the Constitution are being violated as a result of these laws. And I would like the Congressman to remember the Freedom of Religion Act of 1993, which guarantees us the right to use cannabis as Rastafari, as people who have been historically sustaining ourselves with this plant. We wish to discuss how these proposed laws currently impact our lives as quote unquote seniors who are in the medical and adult users now and for the future. We want to see our adult and life work of decriminalizing and legalizing cannabis in the Caribbean, Hawaii, and the globe to happen during our lifetime with a little help from our legislators. There's also the issue for us of the rise of homelessness among the demographic my age and older, mental health services for those above. These are just a few of the many concerns that the Honorable Congressman would certainly could not discuss within 30 minutes that you granted us today. Until we have more time and that we could meet with the Honorable Congressman, these are the questions that I'd like to leave you with. What sort of funding and other resources does your office provide for cannabis education? Okay. We also are asking for access to resources that we could utilize to continue to advocate, educate, empower, and inform members of our community on their rights and political powers as members of the society. Education is a key factor to helping our people get justice in this legal cannabis industry. How can the Congressman's office assist our community in accessing such funding and other resources? Does the Congressman think there are opportunities for civic-minded residents of Hawaii to take part in a conversation, as in giving testimony to Congress with respect to how these cannabis legislation impact on our lives to this day? Will the Congressman's office support us? We, the people, would like to be included in the decision-making process of legislating this legal cannabis industry. This is an industry in the 20 years since it's existed, has created 420,000 jobs, right? I can't think of any other industry in the US growing as fast. Imagine if the laws and standards for setting up this industry reflected the diversity, equity, and inclusion that's spoken about, but not seen in the current industry, neither in these laws that are being proposed on a state and federal level. As seniors, many of us who may be retired, but myself included, would like to transfer the skills we have into creating sustainable family and community businesses right here in Hawaii, as well as throughout the United States. Foundations that would not only support our families, but the state, as well as the Kingdom of Hawaii. Because even in these legislation, I noticed the state hypocritically makes laws that allow them to tax these new cannabis businesses, right? And the taxation is so high that even the industry themselves, this legal industry, is crying and saying that they want reprieve. Now, what we want to know is, how dare the state, how dare the government even consider not using these resources to return the equity and justice that's needed in our marginalized community? Because these crimes, the war on drugs, still is impacting on us today, even as you're creating this great legal cannabis industry. You have excluded, and when I say you, I mean those who are making the laws, okay, have excluded us. And if you read, for example, if you want ethnographic research on who laid the foundation for this legal cannabis industry, it is those people who have been marginalized. And for a good reference, I would recommend that the Congressman reads The Ganja Complex by ethnographer Ansley Hamid. It will outline for you who laid the foundation for this legal industry and why the Rastafari community has a rightful claim to reparatory and economic and restorative justice in this matter. In this respect, we ask the Honorable Congressman to grant us another meeting where we would have a greater length of time for members who are not present here today to present testimonies on their own behalf, as to how these issues impact on their daily lives. As I said before, there are many aspects of the laws that do not reflect our needs. And so again, particularly in the state laws, we're looking at the laws regarding expungement. We need support. And this is expungement, restorative justice, equity. These are the things that, again, I will reiterate. The decriminalization and legalization of cannabis, the licensing in terms of what it's costing many poor people who cannot afford it, that want to stay legal. We're having to raise funds to help people get licensed so they're not caught outside of the law for its uses. And basically social equity, expungement, reparatory justice, and restorative justice. So we want to create standards and legislation that reflect this diversity, equity, and inclusion that's being touted in the cannabis industry. I think I've said probably too much, but I think I'll open the floor now for you to respond, as well as for Rachel Selah if she has any more to say. And I want to again thank the congressman for sending you his representative, even though he couldn't make it today. And we want an opportunity again to meet with him personally. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I mean, those are all really great questions, and we definitely agree that there needs to be more done so that our government in this process around cannabis and drug policy reform really reflects the community. And we're hearing from all, especially disproportionately impacted communities, BIPOC communities. And so, as you noted, he's a co-sponsor on the MORE Act and the Safe Banking Act, so that we can really start to decriminalize it at the federal level, start to have expungement, and really restore, kind of overturn some of those really failed war on drugs policies, completely unjustified, especially for cannabis. And so definitely are on the same page there. For the state laws, that lives with the jurisdiction of our state and local officials, but really appreciate your involvement and all of your members' interests and willingness to tune in and give their testimony. I think the best thing that they can do on a personal level is really reaching out to their elected officials at the state and local level as well. We really appreciate hearing it here and want to be federal partners in this process, but they also need to be hearing from constituents. So we really appreciate your initiatives there. For the question of funding around cannabis education, as a congressional office, we have pretty strict ethics regulations on funding that can actually come directly from our office. However, there are community funded projects where we can put in requests for specific existing programs that benefit the community. There are different restrictions on that as well, but I will definitely send you the link for our form to request that. If there are existing cannabis education programs that would qualify, we would definitely love to see a request on that. And then, yeah, and I think, again, just want to be federal partners, and thank you so much for bringing your perspective into the conversation. It's really, I'm sorry it's taken us this long to connect over Zoom, but we really appreciate it. I think it's a really valuable side, and I appreciate you holding us accountable to hearing those voices and making sure that that's part of the conversation.
I thank you for listening, and I just want to let you know that we are communicating with legislators on the local level. Last week, I had a meeting with Honorable Senator San Buenaventura. I'm still waiting to hear from Representative Iagan's office. And I'm also meeting next week with council member from my district in Puna, Ashley Kirkiewicz, I want to say it correctly. But we are really, we're slow but sure. We are working on a local level. It's just that resources are very scarce. And it's hard also to even, again, as you saw how challenging it was for me to connect with you on Zoom. Everything is done online. And we are just getting started with educating our people to even getting on a Zoom call. As you can see, there were many invitees, but only two of us showed up. So you can see the challenges we're facing. But again, we thank the Honorable Congressman, and we hope that we can continue this conversation with you and any support that you can give us. And I'd like to turn it over to Rachel Sela to ask if there's anything she would like to say finally before we end this call, and hope that we can continue a long-term relationship with the Congressman's office.
Just second all of the things that, all of the information and all of the concerns that you shared as well, Empress. My focus is more on consumer education and just helping cannabis users, no matter, most specifically BIPOC, but definitely all cannabis users, to optimize their cannabis use and understand that it goes beyond being a stoner, and that cannabis is medicine. And so our Cannabis for the Culture is really interested in resources to back the consumer education side of the company. We are currently developing a curriculum and curriculum and programming that can be implemented in any of the wide array of schools, so-called schools that they have for people who are going into the cannabis industry. We're talking about the bud tenders, the growers, the cultivators, all of that. They all need more education because there is a break between the doctors who prescribe the medical marijuana and the dispensaries. They don't have any information to really give these patients who are coming in for specific needs and treating themselves. It's pretty much a blind shot. And so Cannabis for the Culture's goal is to stop the blind shot, to make space, to have trainings and different information for the people who are providing the cannabis, so that it doesn't go just because it's not as simple as, oh, I feel tired or I'm having trouble sleeping and I need this strain, because it's not about the strain, it's about the cannabinoids and how the cannabis is going to interact with you on an individual level. Because what these people are forgetting is that cannabis interacts with your endocannabinoid system, which is piloted by your endocrine system, where your hormones are created, and depending upon what's going on in your body, that's going to affect your experience. And so that's a big part of what is not being told to cannabis consumers. No, there's so many different cannabinoids that no one knows about, right? That vary and have different effects on the body. And so Cannabis for the Culture is just trying to bridge that gap between the consumer and the provider of the flower products. And any assistance that, the Honorable Congressman can give to Empress and Balm of Gilead, that would be so awesome, because they are a big part of our educational efforts.
I want to thank you so much for that, Rachel Sela, because that was another part. You just sealed it right there for me, because one of the things in our education component that we stress is funding for research. We wanted to ask the Congressman also, and I'm so glad she remembered this for me, that we stress that there needs to be more funding. All those tax money that you're taking out from the dispensaries, also put it into research on human subjects like ourselves, those who have experience with the plant, those who are consuming the plant. Because as she pointed out, each one of us have a unique endocannabinoid system. And the better we understand how these cannabinoids interact with that, how when we're consuming this cannabis, how it impacts on our bodies. Yes, we need that education. We need that research done. So thank you, Rachel Sela, and thank the Congressman for putting in some energy into funding and research as well.
Absolutely, and it's appropriation season right now, and so there are definitely initiatives around making sure that federal funds can be used for cannabis research, and making sure that we're moving towards kind of a safer, better educated approach to, and more compassionate approach to our cannabis legislation. So thank you so much. Yeah, all of the work that you're doing on the ground for around destigmatization and just making sure that it's safer and more kind of realistic approach to cannabis is so important, and we really appreciate it, and definitely appreciate the opportunity to kind of bring that voice to Congress. And I'll make sure that he's in the loop on all of these conversations, and really appreciate the work that you're doing. And again, like reaching out to us and taking the time to chat today.
Mahalo nui. And we look forward to another meeting, and I look forward to receiving those links from you. Till such time, ahui ho, malama pono.
Ahui ho. Aloha.